Welcome. In this video we're going to show you how to make a flaming hand on fire. We're going to show you how it works through here. Something like this, where the fire is on the hand and it also kind of flickers and brightens the hand and then turns off. I want you to see that, how the light kind of diminishes on the hand. So we're going to do all that in this little video. Now what I have here for you is a flame hand cut out close and a flame big MOV. There's also one for a further out point of view, but we're just going to start with the cut out close and the flame big. It looks like that's spelled wrong, but we'll handle that later. Alright, so let's first take a look at the flaming hand. It's just by itself, there's nothing in it. It just comes out and goes across. And then the flame big is a very large flame. It's a, I want to say maybe a 4K or maybe a 2K square video, and it's rendered from Maya. Anyway, alright, so let's show you how to get started with this. First thing you want to do is take, well, the actual flaming hand one. I think, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, we don't need that one anymore. We'll just kind of put that in its own folder. So we'll put that in its own folder. We'll put that in a folder called Final. Now, the regular flame and this other flame big, we're going to take those and drag them into a folder called Footage. Alright, so we're going to start with our footage, and I'm going to take the flame hand video, and this is 1920 by 1080, and I'm going to drag it into this little icon here at the bottom. That's going to make a new comp based on the exact same settings. So it's that exact same length. Alright. Okay, now what we need to do is the first clear picture of the hand open is really what we need to start with. So let's see here. We want to find that first clear picture. And so I drag my timeline indicator to about, I don't know, say about just a little over 3 seconds and 9 frames there. Alright, and what we're going to do is we're going to find our tracker. Now, if your tracker is not visible on your screen like this, you can always go Window and bring up your tracker by doing that. Now, then you just, with that layer selected, see that layer selected, you can go Track Motion. Alright, now the tracking point here, you might have to grab out, there's 3 little squares here, well, 2 squares and a little point. What I'm going to do is kind of expand it out, so you see how you can grab the corners. I'm going to expand that out and then kind of drag this down on the screen to see if we can find a spot that'll work. Let's see. Alright, I'm going to do it right about there and move in a bit. And so the tracker needs to be bigger than what it is. So from that point, let's see, right about there, and then I'm gonna move it down just a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, okay, I like that spot. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna see if we can have this, I mean, it's best to find something that's like contrasting, so anyway, I'm kind of going on some lines on his hand. Anyway, so at this point what you want to do is tell it to analyze forward. Now down here it says analyze in the tracking menu, and you can click analyze forward, and it's basically trying to follow the hand. Now if it gets wrong, like if it gets way off, I'm just gonna hit stop and kind of manually change it. But I mean, as long as it closely gets the hand, I think we're going to be okay. I mean, it's not like fire really has a source point. Did have a kind of a weird jump there for us, but we'll see how it goes. And it's just tracking through. We'll see how long it goes. And let's keep analyzing forward. And now we're at the end, and I hit stop because I don't want to track it really past when his hand is closed. So hopefully we can then attach this tracking data. So at this point, basically what it's done is it's tracked some of the position of the point. So we'll see if we can then put that data into some other container. This other container is going to be called a null object. We're going to do layer, new, null object. And what that does is that just adds a new layer called null. And there's nothing on this. It's just nothing. And we're going to rename it. So let's see if I can choose rename here. And let's call this tracker. All right. So now that I have that, I can then take my mouse and move over and tell it to edit the target of the motion target. So I'm going to say edit target. It's going to choose tracker. If you didn't rename it, it would say null 1. And you can choose other layers here, but right now I only have 2, so that's the layer it's on. And so now my tracker here has all that information in it. To prove this, I'm going to turn off the eye on the flame layer. I could also just hit the solo button here. But if you take a look at it, under the tracker, it's going to have... Alright, so I'm going to put it back at the beginning. Alright, so watch this position, how there's nothing here right now. All I have to do is hit apply, and that takes all that data and puts it into this. And it'll ask you, apply dimensions X and Y. Yes. And so now there's a whole bunch of keyframes here, and you can see the little guy move around following the hand. Okay, so you want to get a good track of the item, and once you do that, and by the way, none of this red stuff or these lines, none of those show up in the final video. We're then going to go to our flame big here, and I'm going to put that on top of my tracker layer. And notice it's very big. I'm going to zoom out. I can use my scroll wheel, or I can use the percentages here. But anyway, I want to make this smaller. So I'm going to hold down shift, and I'm going to kind of push up, although it's not going to really matter much. And I want to find a point in this video where his hand is open. Let's see. So his hand starts to be open right there. So okay, we're going to start it there. So we move this timeline indicator over to that point until there is some flame. Alright, so there's the flame starting out. Now what I need to do with this flame is make it move with the tracker. So because right now if I just go through this, it's not moving, it's just staying in one spot, and his hand's kind of massaging the bottom of it. So what I want to do is make it to where it comes out of his hand right there. So I'm going to bring up the property for position by tapping P with the flame big layer selected. I'm going to do the same thing for the tracker layer. Hit P and see the position. So you can see that the position of tracker has all these little guys here. Now I want to alt click the little stopwatch here. So I'm going to alt click it, and that gives me the opportunity to change it to an expression. I'm just going to use the pick whip, click and hold this little spiral icon, and drag it to the position. So now it's going to make this move with it. Now it's moving with it, but it's not in the right spot. Okay, no big deal. All we have to do to fix that is position this again by changing the anchor point using the pan behind tool. So I'm going to click the pan behind tool, tap on the middle of this, and it might actually move down and to the right, and that's going to move it up and to the left and put it there in the middle of his hand. So let's see how this flame goes through now. It starts out and kind of has a couple little jumps. It's that tracker that kind of jumped a couple times. No big deal. Alright, so you can see that it's going there. And notice it's not long enough. Alright, so what I probably need to do, also there's some black in it. You can see there's black in it. This is a transparent video, so it's see-through already. So you can turn it off, see it's see-through. But we're going to duplicate it. So I'm going to hit Control D, and I'm going to have another version of this. So I'm going to take this and use my regular arrow selection tool and move it over some. So it's a little longer here. So it's still going, right? And this one, well, it might be moving slightly different. So what I want to do with this one is, as it's going, I'm going to probably maybe, I don't know, change the video's length to where it's not as long. So take out some of it. I'm just going to kind of wait for my pen to change there, and you see how it kind of changes it. Alright, so anyway, so at the end here, I'll probably need to also use the pan behind tool. Let's see, right at the end. Alright, so right about probably, okay, there's probably where I want to be my last frame. Alright, so I tuck that in to where it's my last frame of the fire. Alright, and I'm going to use my pan behind tool on this one to maneuver it just a little differently than the other one. So let's see here. Move it down a little bit over. Let's see how that does. Alright, and okay. Alright, now the way this transitions in, it's transitioning in hard, so I'm going to make this transition in transparent. So I'm going to press T, and basically what I'm going to do is make this one kind of fade in. So I'll hit the stopwatch on the opacity right at the beginning of the portion that is highlighted. I'll move forward a few frames and hit the diamond. So basically what I want it to do is start out at 0. So I'm going to have the first one, you can go between the two keyframes, these little diamond shapes, by using those arrows, and now I'm going to take it down to 0. So it makes it fade in, so it just looks a little more of a transition here. Let's see. Let's make that. Alright, so a little more of a transition. And then out here we'll probably do the same thing. Extend that out a little bit, and we'll do, right as this is going, we'll have it go to 100 and move it over a little bit and go to 0. So if you were to read these diamonds, these keyframe parameters here, if you just use your arrow tool, right, it should say 0, oh wait, we're at 1, let's make that 0, okay, 0, 100, 100, 0. So it basically fades in and fades out. I'm going to do the same on the one down here. I add its T for opacity, and we're going to give it 100 there. We're going to move to the end of its time and put a 0. I'm going to move back here near the beginning, and right there we'll add a diamond, and we'll just go page up a couple frames, go down to 0. So that's a very quick transition here because it kind of grows anyway. Alright, now the last thing we need to do is, right now this is black, so let's change this to add mode. Now if you don't see the word normal here, you can toggle these switches and it just changes the way these little buttons look. I'm going to change it to add on both of those, so now you can see how it looks like it's glowing right on his hand. And that's it for this part.